Picture this, a battlefield where two worlds collide. On one side, 10,000 samurai, the legendary warriors of feudal Japan. Their swords polished, their armor gleaming, and their minds ready for death. These men didn't fight for money, they fought for honor, and they trained their entire lives for one purpose, to never back down. Now imagine them facing the Russian army of today. Tanks rumble forward, missiles lock onto targets, jets scream across the sky. An army of modern steel, satellites, and raw firepower. It's the largest land force in Europe, a machine built to crush anything in its path. But here's the question. Does raw technology automatically win? Because numbers don't tell the whole story. A samurai doesn't need Wi-Fi, fuel, or spare parts. A samurai needs only his sword, his discipline, and the unshakable belief that dying in battle is victory in itself. So, what really happens when modern firepower meets 10,000 warriors who do not fear death? Could Russia's tanks and rifles overwhelm them instantly? Or could the samurai close the distance, turning the battlefield into chaos where modern soldiers suddenly find themselves out of their element? That's what we're going to uncover. And trust me, this battle won't play out the way you think. Stick with me, because the answer may surprise you. And before we dive deeper, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next insane what-if battle. Before we throw the Russian army into this chaos, let's talk about their opponents, the samurai. Forget what you've seen in movies with slow motion, sword swings, and dramatic stares. These guys were the real deal trained killers who treated battle like an art form. From the age of 5, samurai boys were already practicing with wooden swords while most kids today are still figuring out how to play fight. By their teens, they were mastering the katana blade so sharp it could slice through armor like butter. And the crazy part, they didn't just fight for victory. They fought with the mindset that dying in battle was the ultimate win. Imagine facing an enemy who doesn't even care about survival. That's terrifying. Now, here's where it gets fun. Samurai weren't just swinging swords around randomly. They lived by a strict code called Bushido: loyalty, discipline, and honor above everything. Think of it like a hardcore version of gamer rules. No rage quitting, no cheats, no running away. But don't let the old school vibe fool you. The samurai were basically the special forces of their time, fast, precise, and absolutely relentless. Picture 10,000 of them charging with bows, spears, and blades, moving like a single unit. No radios, no drones, no tanks, just pure human skill and unshakable discipline. So yeah, the Russian army might have missiles and tanks, but the samurai, they've got something way scarier, a mindset that says, even if I lose, I win. And trust me, that's the kind of energy you don't want sprinting at you with a sword. Step into the modern battlefield and you'll find the Russian army, the heavyweight champ of Europe. Forget horses and bows, this side rolls in with tanks, jets, artillery, and more firepower than a Call of Duty loadout gone wrong. We're talking T-90 tanks, thick armor, massive cannons, and enough shells to level small cities. Behind them, MiG fighter jets cutting through the sky like Top Gun, only with less Tom Cruise and more raw intimidation. And let's not forget the artillery batteries. Those things don't just fire shells, they drop meteors on command. Now add in hundreds of thousands of troops, trained with modern rifles, night vision goggles, drones, encrypted radios, the works. In terms of gear, it's like comparing the latest iPhone to a flip phone from 2003. Technology is their greatest weapon, and they know it. But here's the twist. All this hardware looks unstoppable until you remember they're up against 10,000 samurai who literally don't care about dying. And here's where things get interesting. You can't scare someone with missiles if their only goal is to charge straight at you swinging a katana. So yes, the Russian army has every toy in the box. But war isn't just about toys, it's about who breaks first. And history has shown that sometimes, all the gear in the world can't prepare you for an enemy who simply refuses to quit. The battlefield is set on one side, 10,000 samurai, armor shining, banners flying, swords ready. On the other, the Russian army, tanks lined up like metal giants, rifles aimed, artillery locked. Two worlds about to collide in a way no history book ever imagined. The Russians fire first. Artillery shells scream through the sky, exploding in the middle of samurai formations. Dozens fall instantly. But here's the crazy part, the rest don't even flinch. They just tighten formation and keep marching forward. No fear, no hesitation, just pure determination. Tanks rumble forward, cannons blasting. Samurai scatter, but not in panic strategy. Some sprint low through smoke, arrows flying back at the armored beasts. Of course, arrows against tank armor. Yeah, not exactly effective. It's like throwing toothpicks at a refrigerator. But the point isn't the damage, it's the chaos. Then it happens. The samurai break the distance. They're fast, way faster than the Russian troops expected. In seconds, swords are clashing against rifle stocks. And the battlefield turns into something out of a nightmare. Modern soldiers trained for long range, suddenly fighting face to face against warriors who lived for close combat. One Russian soldier unloads his rifle at point blank, only to see another samurai appear right behind him. A tank crew panics as samurai swarm the vehicle, banging swords against steel, trying to find a way in. It's technology versus tradition, bullets versus blades, fear versus honor. And for the first time, the Russians realize this fight won't be as easy as they thought. Smoke blankets the ground. The air is thick with gunpowder and the metallic clash of steel. You hear it before you see it. The roar of Russian tanks, the crack of rifles, and the chilling war cries of samurai charging straight through fire. From the Russian side, it feels like total control at first. Rockets streaking overhead, machine guns spitting fire. But then, shadows cut through the smoke. Samurai silhouettes, sprinting faster than anyone thought possible, closing the gap. Suddenly, modern weapons feel useless. Rifles jammed, magazines empty. And in that split second of reload, the samurai are already there. You duck as a katana slices the air, inches above your helmet. The soldier next to you fires wildly, panic in his eyes, only to be tackled by a warrior who doesn't even slow down after taking a bullet to the chest. They don't fight like humans, they fight like forces of nature. Inside a Russian tank, the crew panics as samurai swarm the vehicle, pounding on the steel with swords and spears. It sounds insane, ancient weapons on modern armor, but the noise rattles nerves more than the shells outside. Fear spreads faster than gunfire. The battlefield is no longer modern, it's chaos. Arrows whistle past tracer rounds. Katana blades clash against bayonets. Screams of pain mix with the hiss of burning fuel. For the Russians, every second feels like a nightmare they didn't train for. For the samurai, it's exactly the fight they were born to die in. And in the middle of this storm, one thought is clear. This isn't a battle between armies, it's a war between centuries. The clash rages on. Hours feel like minutes, and minutes feel like eternity. The battlefield is no longer rows of orderites, a boiling storm of steel, smoke, and screams. At first, it seemed the samurai spirit was unstoppable. They pushed through gunfire, broke Russian lines, and turned every reload into a death sentence. But now, the tide begins to shift. Russian artillery finally locks in. Massive shells rain down, shaking the earth, tearing through samurai ranks. Entire formations vanish in firestorms. Tanks reposition, creating an iron wall that even the bravest katana strike can't crack. For the first time, the samurai advance slows, but don't count them out. With fewer numbers, they fight even harder. One samurai leaps onto a moving APC, cutting down soldiers on top before being blown apart by machine gun fire. Another slices through barbed wire, leading a desperate charge that forces Russian infantry back a few steps. Even in death, they make every moment count. From the Russian side, exhaustion kicks in. Soldiers are rattled. They've never fought an enemy that refuses to break. Ammo is running low. Fuel tanks are nearly dry, and whispers spread through the ranks. If this many samurai can push us this far, what if there were more? The battlefield holds its breath. One side with superior weapons, the other with unshakable will. Something has to give, and the moment is coming fast. The battlefield shrinks. No more long-range missiles, no more distant artillery. It's now face-to-face combat, and the Russians are not ready for this kind of nightmare. Samurai warriors crash into the trenches like a tidal wave of steel. Katana blades cut through bayonets, spears slam into body armor. Russian soldiers fire point blank, but the samurai keep charging, screaming war cries that drown out the gunfire. For the first time, modern troops feel like prey. Inside a shattered building, a squad of Russians reloads nervously. The sound of boots echoes on the stairs. Suddenly, samurai burst through the door, swords swinging in arcs so fast they blur. The firefight turns into a massacre of seconds, bullets versus blades. Some soldiers drop their rifles entirely, fighting hand-to-hand with knives, helmets, even bare fists. A tank crew watches in horror as samurai climb onto their vehicle. Steel blades clang against the hatch, sparks flying with every strike. The tank's machine gun roars, but for every warrior, it cuts down. Two more leap from the smoke. Inside, panic rises. They can't see the enemy. They can only hear the constant hammering of swords against steel, like a drumbeat of death. The Russians still have firepower, but in this close quarters hell, it feels useless. Every alley, every trench, every broken wall turns into a cage match between centuries. Modern technology gives no comfort when an enemy is 3 feet away with a blade that never misses. The lines blur. It's not modern versus ancient anymore. It's survival versus extinction. The earth is shaking, the air is fire, and the battlefield is nothing but a graveyard in the making. Both sides have given everything, but now comes the moment every war fears, the breaking point. For the Russians, it's exhaustion. Soldiers fire their last magazines with trembling hands. Tanks rumble forward on fumes, their armor scarred. Their crews half mad from the endless pounding of steel and screams outside. Radios crackle with desperate voices, commanders shouting orders that no one has the strength to follow. Fear creeps in. You can see it in their eyes. They've faced men before. They've faced armies before. But never warriors who welcome death like it's victory. For the samurai, it's sacrifice. Thousands lie scattered across the field, but the survivors fight harder with every fallen brother. Their armor is cracked, their blades are dull, but their spirit is a wildfire. A samurai, bleeding and barely standing, charges headfirst into a line of rifles, cutting down one more soldier before collapsing. Another leaps onto a tank, screaming his clan's name, knowing he won't come back down. Every swing of the sword is a declaration, we will not stop. And here's the truth, the battlefield feels like it could collapse either way. Modern firepower has battered the samurai, but honor and sheer will keep them alive. Russian steel has carved through ranks, but fear and fatigue tear at their heart. The smoke clears for just a second, and all you see are two broken forces, locked in a war no one expected, no one wanted, and no one will ever forget. This isn't about technology anymore. It's not about swords or tanks, it's about who breaks first. And right now, both sides are seconds away from shattering. The battlefield is fire and shadow. Both armies are stretched to the edge, but now comes the moment that decides everything. The final charge? The samurai, down to their last thousands, gather what strength remains. Their armor is broken, their faces streaked with blood and ash, but their eyes burn with the same fire that carried them through centuries of war. They raise their banners one last time, shouting their war cries into the smoke-filled sky. It doesn't sound human anymore, it sounds like thunder rolling across the earth. Across the field, the Russians brace for impact. Tanks form a steel wall, turrets spinning, ready to unleash everything they have left. Artillery crews load their last shells. Soldiers grip rifles with shaking hands, knowing this is it, no fallback, no retreat, just one chance to stand or be swallowed alive. The samurai charge. Thousands of blades gleam in the haze. Arrows whistle overhead, a desperate storm. The ground trembles as they rush forward, faster, louder, unstoppable. The Russians open fire. Tanks roar, artillery erupts, rifles unleash storms of bullets. The two forces collide in a hurricane of fire and steel. It's chaos beyond imagination. A tank explodes under a swarm of samurai climbing onto its hull. A Russian squad fights hand-to-hand in the ruins of a trench. Every swing of the katana answered with bayonets and rifle butts. The air is filled with smoke, blood, and the screams of men who know they're living their last moments. And then, silence creeps in. The battlefield slows. The survivors on both sides look around, stunned, broken, and barely breathing. The decisive moment has passed. One side has pushed through, the other has shattered. But which side? That's the question history will never forget. The smoke settles. The battlefield is silent except for the crackle of fire and the groans of the wounded. What was once the roar of tanks and the thunder of war cries is now only echoes fading into the night. The Russian army still stands, but barely. Their tanks are crippled, their ammo nearly gone, and their soldiers shaken to the core. Modern firepower has carried them through, yes, but at a cost they never imagined. Facing warriors who refused to surrender, who turned every death into one more step forward, has scarred them in ways no missile ever could. The samurai lie broken across the field, thousands cut down by shells, rifles, and steel. Yet even in defeat, their spirit remains untouchable. To the last man, they fought as if death was not the end, but the prize, and in that sense, they never truly lost. So, could Russia's army survive 10,000 samurai? The answer is yes, technology would eventually crush numbers. But survival is not the same as victory. The Russians may hold the ground, but the samurai hold the story. Their charge, their courage, and their defiance would echo for centuries, whispered as legend. The day swords clashed against tanks, and honor stood against firepower. And here's the truth. In every what-if battle, there's more than just winners and losers. There's the reminder that sometimes, spirit is just as dangerous as steel. If you loved this clash of centuries, make sure to subscribe to Epic War Scenarios. Because today, it was samurai versus Russia. But tomorrow, the next impossible war could be even crazier. Don't miss it.